Ahsoka, Episode 8, The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. So, throughout this season of Ahsoka, it's been up and down for me. I started off being like, alright, I kind of like this show, it's alright. We hit a high at Episode 4, I really loved Episode 4. And ever since then, it's kind of gone downhill. And this episode, I don't know if it really saved it for me. Let's get into it. So, we start off with Thrawn. He's obviously preparing for Ahsoka and all of them. They're now back together again, so he's preparing that. He knows that they're going to start coming for them, so he's prepping. And we do get the scene of Morgan Elsbeth. She's finally indicted or brought into the group of mothers of the witches, and she's like given these new powers or whatever. They like burn her face with this magic, and suddenly she looks like them a little more. She's got like the black eyes, and she's got like some markings now on her face. And then they give her like this sword of mother talismans or something. They basically like made Morgan some super powered crazy witch to be able to fight for the finale. Very conveniently timed there right at the end, but that is something that you very much know that we'll end up seeing later in the episode. So she gets this cool sword that, you know, burns green flames, and it's obviously got its magic inside of it, and we'll see that later. So we cut back to the crab people. Third episode in a row for the crab people. Getting real tired of seeing them. We cut back to Ezra, and he's building himself a new lightsaber. And he builds a new lightsaber. We get some cool mentions of Kanan. He builds his lightsaber a little bit like Kanan's as well. He uses like a part that Huyang only had two of, and he uses a part and makes his lightsaber look like Kanan's. Just some cool Kanan mentions. But I mean, it's kind of funny to watch him build his lightsaber and do all this stuff right after they made him reject his lightsaber last episode and say, oh, the Force is my ally. While in that same fight, he used a blaster to defeat the stormtroopers, even though now he wants to just build a new saber. A little weird. So we cut to Sabine, Ahsoka. Basically, they're just kind of chilling, talking, traveling. I don't know why they can't see the highest point in the area with the Star Destroyer sitting on top of it. I don't know why they can't see that. It's weird. But you got Sabine and Ahsoka standing out on top of the ship. And Sabine, of course, is not going to have Ahsoka mad at her. Ahsoka's all good with Sabine after what Sabine did. So Sabine literally got rid of Ezra's sacrifice and got Thrawn to come back to their galaxy. That's what the sacrifice was. That's what Sabine did. She managed to allow Thrawn to escape. But Ahsoka's all good. She's like, oh, I'm okay. I'm not that mad. It's all right. You know, I would have done similar things. You know, all whatever. So Sabine's all good. You know, she just doomed the whole galaxy, but she's fine. She's all good. So they get attacked by some TIE fighters, and of course, as you know, with the TIE fighters and whatever ships they send out, it's not going to do total obliteration because there's some plot armor with every single main character ever. So they knock the ship down for a moment, and then Sabine needs to get inside and actually get the ship up in the air. And while she's up in the air, of course, she very easily just flies through the two TIE fighters and then crashes the ship again. So she's able to take them out by just literally crashing into them. Kind of weird. But Sabine fucks the ship up, and then we cut to Thrawn. He says, all right, time to prepare for ground assault, because apparently the whole we could just leave them and I don't really care what happens to them, and I'll just get to the next galaxy and leave them behind. Apparently it doesn't matter anymore. Apparently they matter enough now, and Thrawn wants to deal with them. So they leave Huyang behind to fix the ship with the crab people, and they go off to fight Thrawn. So Thrawn gets his little stormtrooper army set up and prepared. So apparently they're not dead, at least yet. And we kind of learn that with this episode. But he sends out a few troops there to go deal with Ahsoka, Ezra, and Sabine. And he gets them to go out and fight them. You can see then Ahsoka, Ezra, and Sabine, they make it to where Thrawn is. And they're able to just run right in, while Thrawn orders them to rain fire down from the Star Destroyer onto them. How can you not die from that? But you do get a little bit of Thrawn in this episode where he's like, you could see his face and he's like super frustrated and mad. And he loses quite a bit in this episode, even though at the end of the episode they like to tell you, oh, it was all part of my plan. Oh, I got away. I won. But Thrawn literally is terrible in this episode. Like, he can't do anything to them at all. He's unable to stop Ahsoka, Sabine, and Ezra he's not able to stop them at all. He's able to hold them off, I guess. Maybe that's the idea, but he's not able to stop them. So they run through. They're able to just withstand the whole raining fire from the Star Destroyer. And then Ahsoka yells for everybody to use the Force to open the door that they need to run into. And of course, Sabine also needs to help out and use the Force because she's the best and she is a Jedi, just like everybody else. Forget being a Mandalorian. And then they run in and they start fighting the Stormtroopers. So some cool shots with the lightsabers. It's always cool to see lightsabers. Star Wars, of course. Good to see Ezra with a lightsaber again. Looks fine with it. It's still funny that, he needed to make a whole new lightsaber. And where the hell did Huang get another, crystal for the lightsabers? Does he just have them sitting around the ship or something? Because Ezra, in Rebels, we had a whole journey of him finding his crystal, just like a lot of other Jedi. And now he just has a crystal and he's got a whole new lightsaber just like that. Kind of strange. So they go through the troopers, they start killing the troopers, and the troopers are all dead now. And that's where that whole witch thing starts to come in. So they defeat the troopers quite easily. And finally, we're getting to that point where Thrawn needed the help of the witches. It's kind of strange because he said that at the end of his first episode that he came into. And then we waited a whole week after last week to finally get to him really needing their powers. Kind of weird. So they're finally resurrecting the troopers. This is something we kind of assumed they maybe were doing already, but now they're going to do it. They're going to do a whole scene of having these undead troopers rise with the Night Sister magic and become these zombie troopers. They look kind of cool. They can't really fight them and defeat them with just, blasting them or, deflecting their blaster bolts back to them. They can't do that anymore. So they have to deal with them in different ways. And it is a cool concept. But they deal with them in the sloppiest possible way that you can imagine. Because this is Disney and you can't have people getting chopped up all left and right. Ahsoka, Ezra, and Sabine, none of them come up with the idea to literally just start chopping heads off. Or chopping these troopers in half. So they cannot continue to move because they can't die anymore. They can't get stabbed or they can't get a blaster hit back at them and die. They don't die now. They're zombies, right? Why don't you just cut their head off or something then? Cut their heads off. Cut them in half. Darth Maul them. But no, they're just not going to do that, and they're just going to run away from them. So that's what we do there. So Thrawn's getting ready. He's getting docked into the ring because we know he needs the ring to get to the our original galaxy. And then he sends Morgan Elsbeth out to deal with the Jedi because he can't defeat them and they're coming. So he sends her out. She prepares for battle. She's in the arena, in the area when Ahsoka and them come up. So while Ahsoka stays here to fight Morgan Elsbeth, who's all super powered now, I guess, with this cool sword, she sends Ezra and Sabine to go up and try to stop Thrawn or something like that. And Morgan Elsbeth just lets him go, I guess. I mean, we're doing another duel between Morgan Elsbeth and Ahsoka. Maybe it's just kind of like a whole, this is their final duel after initially seeing them duel in Mandalorian. I don't know, but we get to see them fight. I guess this magical sword is very, very, I guess it's just withstanding a lightsaber because it's all magical. Whatever, I can suspend any disbelief for that. Before it was like the Beskar spear, now we get a magical sword. Alright, so Ezra and Sabine, they head up to the top and they fight two undead, so they're dead as well already, undead death troopers. They look cool, they do look cool, and I do like the undead trooper concept. So we do have Thrawn entering the ring again. He's entering the ring, he's getting ready to go off and go into hyperspace and get away from this area. And then we cut to a scene that is, we start to get to the most annoying parts of this whole episode. And I knew we were heading to these points. I knew we were heading to this point with Ahsoka and Sabine's character. But Sabine is the bestest. We all know that by now. She's the bestest. She could just be a Jedi like everybody else, and she's going to be super powerful. She's getting choked and, held up by one of the death troopers who are undead already. She puts her hand out. I can grab the lightsaber, and she does the whole grab the lightsaber thing with the Force. She gets the lightsaber. She's using the Force, finally. And then she kills the death trooper again, I guess. It's like a zombie. You can see it there, its mouth hanging out. And then she kills the trooper. And then we head to the next part. So Sabine, who just learned how to use the Force. This is the first time we've really seen her use it, because of course she was going to. Oh my god. This probably kills the episode for me. This is so bad. This This is so bad. All right. So, the Star Destroyer is starting to lift up. It's starting to leave. It's already docked to the ring, so now they're leaving. They're going to go escape. And Ezra and Sabine want to get on top, even though it's literally rising as they speak. Like, it's going up, so they need to jump up to get onto the Star Destroyer. Ezra's like, all right, I need to get up there somehow. And Sabine's like, don't worry. I can help you. I can push you with the Force. I may have just learned how to use the Force like a minute ago, but trust me with your life. I'll push you with the Force. This massive distance. A lot of Force is needed to do this. I'll push you, don't worry. You won't die or anything. So Ezra jumps. He does his Jedi jump like we've seen in so many other things, which is fine. He's obviously not going to be able to do a Jedi jump from here, so Sabine uses the Force. Oh, here we go. And she pushes Ezra up onto the Star Destroyer. And he gets on. So Sabine is the best. She's the strongest Jedi now. She's going to be the best. She could just use the Force now. After 2 attempts, she can suddenly just throw people around like nothing. It's no big deal, because why not, right? And this was just so bad, man. It just is so bad. We don't really do any training anymore. It's just like Rey. Once you just start using the Force even a little bit, you just know how to use it, however way you want to. You just go crazy with the Force. And that just seemingly is what we're now doing with Sabine. She's just open to the Force now. I mean, she's not going to have like a little moment of like, oh, moving something for a moment or anything like that. Like a very slow progression. No, it's just like, I just finally unlocked it. I unlocked it finally. Now I can just use it however I want to. That's what we're doing. And it's just so ridiculous. Sabine is not a Jedi. I will never see her as a Jedi. And the whole storyline of her being a Jedi is extremely pointless, because she was an incredibly well done character as a Mandalorian in Rebels, and now we're just doing this whole pointless storyline to connect her to Ahsoka, so we have her in this story. It is pointless, it is ridiculous, and then we get to the Ezra stuff on the Star Destroyer, which makes no sense at the end of the episode. We'll get to that, but he's on the Star Destroyer. Ahsoka ends up killing Morgan Elsbeth, so she's finally dead. Didn't really care much for her character. She's been around a little while now, obviously since Mandalorian. She's dead. Ahsoka defeats her, of course, because Ahsoka's not going to die. She takes her sword, slashes her like twice, and then she dies. So Thrawn orders to destroy the entire like hangar area here, the entire place that they're standing on, because he has since left and lifted. So he's like, okay, let's just blow it up, get them off. And as they run off the edge, conveniently, there is Huyang with the ship. He got that really fixed real quickly. Those crab people got a hell of a damn good job on that ship. So they got their ship all fixed. They head up in the space chasing Thrawn. They get onto the, chasing the ring. And then we get a little one-on-one with Ahsoka. Thrawn talking to Ahsoka about Anakin, and they're like, oh, maybe you're destined to become like Anakin or something. Or, I don't know. I don't really care. He gets away. He's like, I had the last laugh. I am the one who gets away. You failed, and I got away, and you're not gonna catch me. Catch me if you can. So Thrawn, he gets away, just as we expected would happen. He gets away into the new galaxy, or not new galaxy, our galaxy, the normal Star Wars galaxy. And they leave Ahsoka and Sabine and Huyang behind, so now they are stranded. I don't know why you just don't call your whales. I mean, they seemingly conveniently got you to that galaxy to begin with. Why don't you just go find them? You might as well just go find them. It's obviously not hard to just find plot devices to just go and get you places, so do it again. But Sabine, Ahsoka, Huyang, they're stranded behind now, and Thrawn has escaped. And that's exactly kind of what we expected. So Ezra is actually the only one of their whole crew there that actually did manage to get back, because he was on the Star Destroyer. So we head back to the crab people again, and now that's where Ahsoka and Sabine are going to be living. So we do get this. Oh yeah, remember Shin, Hati, and Baylan Skoll? Remember those characters that were just completely abandoned this episode? Oh yeah, they're still out there somewhere. So we got a quick shot of Shin. She's just like standing on top of a cliff, or sitting on her dog thing, and she like lifts her lightsaber up. I don't know, maybe she's like with them now or something. I don't know. It's like those raiders that were attacking earlier in the season. So she's there standing on a cliff with that. And then we get the best thing of the episode. The episode was rough. I didn't like a lot of things. The Sabine stuff is ridiculous, and there's so many issues with it. I've said it the whole season, and once again, the man doesn't even say a single line. And the best thing in this episode was this like 15-second shot of Baylan Skoll. He's off on his own journey now, and it is very interesting. I want to know more about what's going on, especially with what they tease. So Baylan Skoll is standing on top of this cliff. We can't see what the cliff is at first, and he sees out on this mountain ahead of him, there's like this light that's glowing, and we don't know what it is. We still don't know what it is at the end. And then we see this face in the mountain when we caught the front shot of Baylan here, and he's standing on this cliff, and it's not just on any normal cliff or mountain. There's like this face carved into it. What is that? And then they cut out to a very wide shot. This is multiple like cliff carvings, not really statues, but they're like cliff carvings of the Father, the Son, and the daughter. If you see, the daughter is on the left there, and it's like blown out. You don't actually see her face, but you can see there's like a carving of the daughter as well. I don't know what that's meant to signify. Maybe something with Ahsoka, because we all know the daughter sacrificed, or didn't really sacrifice herself, but like was used to save Ahsoka on Mortis. But now the Mortis gods are officially brought into this show. I didn't really think they were going to come into this. I know there were some theories about the sun earlier with like, the world between worlds, but it was never really brought in. I thought we were just kind of done with that, but suddenly here we are. Baylan Skoll is on this big mountain cliffside with this carve out statue thing of the Father, and it's a statue of him pointing, and he's on like the hand there, standing there. You can actually see Baylan on the hand here, and he's looking out across the mountains here at this thing glowing on top of this mountain, and we have no idea what that means. We have no idea what it means. But this was the most interesting thing of the episode. It has like no connection really to the story at all of Thrawn and Ahsoka. It's completely disconnected as of now, and I think it's really fascinating. You know what sucks though? Ray Stevenson's gone. This was his last scene as Baylan Skoll in Star Wars and Ahsoka. It is rest in peace, Ray Stevenson. He did a great job in the scenes he did have. Even in this final shot where he didn't even say anything, I am most interested in him and his character, and it sucks we will not see him again as this character, but I am now very much predicting that we'll see the character again in some way, maybe a recast or something. We will see Baylan Skoll again, I'm pretty sure, just don't know how yet. Shout out to Ray Stevenson. He did a great job as the only really interesting character in the show, and it sucks that he's gone. So Thrawn's back. He's in the main galaxy again, and immediately they're heading to Dathomir. Thrawn loaded up all the dead bodies of like Night Sisters or something from the other galaxy. I don't know what he was doing with that. We still don't know, but he's going to Dathomir with the 3 witches. He still has the witches with him. So I'm assuming it's going to be some freaky, maybe like build up of forces or something with Thrawn. I don't know, but that's where they left Thrawn. And then we finally cut to Hera. We're not even going to resolve what happened with Hera. She was like causing all sorts of issues. Even last episode, we like developed that she's really, really at odds with the New Republic, and we're not going to resolve it at all. So we cut to Hera, and there is a Imperial shuttle coming on to this New Republic ship, and they're wondering what is going on. So Chopper even rolls up. Chopper's there, and he's like, what is going on? There's this random trooper that steps out of this Imperial shuttle, and it takes you a moment, but you can immediately start to realize who this is. It's Ezra. I feel like there's a story there that's missing. There's a chunk of the episode there that's missing. How did Ezra get there? Last we saw Ezra, he was just gotten on the Star Destroyer, and we don't know what was going to happen to him next. So how is Ezra able to escape Thrawn's Star Destroyer that just managed to get into the galaxy again, take one of their shuttles, take out one of their troopers, and not have Thrawn notice? How does Thrawn not notice Ezra just leave with a shuttle? What happened there? So that's really, really frustrating. We don't even get to see how that happened at all. But now he's just there with the New Republic, reunites with Hera and Chopper, yay, whatever. I don't like that at all. Like, it's so unexplained. It's so very poorly told. Like, it's so random. Like, suddenly there's this whole thing with Ezra that we didn't, like, see. It's strange. So I don't like that. So, alright. Here's the final shot of the series. At least the first season. I'm assuming there might be a second season now with how many things were left untold. It's Sabine and Ahsoka left on the planet. We do get a quick shot of Sabine like sensing something because of course she's using the Force like a crazy person now. She's using the Force like nothing. She senses something weird out there, and then she's like, oh, never mind. So we'll figure out what that is later, I guess. And then we get our final shot. And this is something that is so expected, and I felt nothing with it. I don't even know why he's there, really. It's weird. Because, Anakin always has to show up with Ahsoka. Force Ghost Anakin. It's always good to see Hayden. I like seeing Hayden Christensen as Anakin. It's great. I love seeing him back in Star Wars. I do. I really do. I wasn't mad at this shot. There's nothing really wrong with it, but it's just like, this is like everything that everyone's going to be talking about now. Oh my God, Dave Filoni is the best. He saved Star Wars with this one shot. The episode was the best, and there's no issues with it whatsoever. And oh my God, we saw Hayden, we saw Anakin again, Force Ghost Anakin, and this is all we're going to hear the next week instead of all the problems maybe with the episode or whatever. It's just like, that's your remember this, remember Anakin, remember this, remember that. It's such a cheap trick, and it's getting old now. It really is getting old. And I don't feel much with it because I just want the story itself and the actual show to be good. And it fell off so much for me, especially these last 2 episodes, man. I didn't like them that much. There's so many problems. It doesn't feel right. There's some stuff I like. I'm not saying everything in this episode was terrible, but there's so much I don't like, and it's so all over the place that I'm just not feeling it. It's not as bad as Mandalorian Season 3. I will say that. Mandalorian Season 3 was bad. I mean, it's not as bad as that. It's not like the worst thing ever either. It's more just me kind of fed up with all of these Star Wars that's just not what it should be. Star Wars needs to be so much bigger and grander than what we're getting right now. And I just don't feel like Ahsoka lived up to that. The Baylan stuff, I will say, I have nothing bad to say about that at all. That was super interesting. I'm curious what the whole Mortis God stuff has to deal with him. If they continue to tell that story, I hope they choose someone real well to continue that story as Baylan. Because I'm really interested in that story. But everything else right now, it's like, okay, the whole season was just to show Thrawn coming back. And that's where we're left. So Star Wars is in another waiting place to wait for the next story, to continue the story. There's no really a conclusion here. It's just we stopped. We might say there's going to be another season, maybe, but right now, I don't feel that much. And seeing Anakin, it's like, it would have been cooler if I think the story was better, and I just don't think it was the greatest thing ever, and it sucks. I really liked Episode 4, and even going into the Anakin stuff initially in Episode 5, it's like, oh, this is interesting, the world between worlds, and then it ended up being nothing. And then we get into Episode 6 and Episode 7, and it's just like, I don't think they were that great. I would say Episode 8 was probably better than the last 2, but it still just felt off-putting to me. And that's just how I feel. I just don't think this is the best Star Wars we could ever get, ever. I just think a lot of people say it, like Star Wars is a franchise that should be in the movie theater. I think it really should be, because it just feels so strange that we're on this episodic, random cheap television show that all this Anakin stuff is happening and whatnot. We should be watching movies of this. I don't know. So that's Ahsoka. That's the series. It could have been better than I wanted it to be. Had some really highs. Baylan Skoll, Ray Stevenson was great. Hayden was great, even though I may disagree of where he was placed in the story and whatnot. I think seeing Hayden was cool still. But the Thrawn thing, it was literally just a story to get him to our galaxy, bring him back, and that's it. So we'll see what happens next. I don't know what show or movie we're going to see next that explains the story. Maybe like a Mandalorian or Ahsoka Season 2. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what show is next set in the Mando-verse stuff. But for now, we're going to be left on Hayden and Anakin, because of course we will. So that's the shot everyone will talk about for the next week. So that's Ahsoka. That's my review. Sabine is the bestest ever. Of course she is. Everyone's a Jedi now. And Thrawn's back.